this is a video focusing on what's been going on with Ken O'Keefe, and I was quite disturbed a few days ago to realise that he's not been online since October 2016, and so I was wondering what's happened to him. And so I started doing a bit of research and stuff, and discovered that there's been all this stuff about accusations against him. I mean, I'd sort of briefly seen this, but I just didn't even bother with it because I just thought it's an absolute load of rubbish. Of course, he's being attacked. I didn't think it was being taken so seriously. I hadn't listened to this show. I just didn't know anything about it because I've been doing a lot of research and stuff on other things, and I've had a lot of stuff to deal with in my own personal life as well. So, to my shock, you know, I found out that Ken O'Keefe is actually, from what I can gather from all my research, and believe you me, I've spent the last 3 days solid, you're talking hour upon hour upon hour, until the early hours of the morning, researching and checking out all the different aspects and angles of what's going on here. And you know, I do believe I am quite thorough in my research, and I do believe that you know, the perspective I'm presenting here is the fairest and most lawful perspective, okay, because I feel what has been happened to Ken O'Keefe is so serious. You know, I've actually written a Facebook note about it, and I've titled it "Where is Ken O'Keefe?" and obviously go into who he is first, and then looking at his One World Citizen website, which is explained. He can't explain in absolute detail at this moment exactly what kind of legal steps he's taken, because to do so would, you know, it would be like an army general giving his battle plan to the opposing army general. You know, you just don't do it. It'd be stupid to do it. And as he says, the intelligent people who support him will understand that, and I do. So I was very disturbed to find that, you know, basically his One World Citizen movement, that he was trying to get funds to sort out a legal case for global citizens and hire a legal team, you know, to create a better world, a fairer and more lawful world, and one in which humanity is not going to be enslaved forever to repaying an unrepayable debt that has been accumulated and foisted on us by a set of criminals, okay? And everybody that knows my videos and research knows that I've done a lot of research and work on child protection, very heavily trying to promote the child protection directives, which are the only solution, okay? They're the only way we're going to make any headways into eradicating that consciousness, and which I've had a lot of trouble getting anybody to help promote, most especially, strangely, the people that are involved in exposing CSA, you know. And it's like Richie did cover the Hampstead case, and he did write to me asking if he could use the clip from my video, which I agreed, and I got back to him asking him if he'd like to do a show focusing on the child protection directives, the EU and UN child protection directives, discussing them, discussing the nature of the crimes and how the child protection directives work to protect children. Didn't bother responding to me, and yet has continued to have shows about child abuse, which then did make me suspicious about him, because, you know, why should he be doing these shows and having mass audiences about child abuse, but then not even want to look at a solution? And that's when I start to lose faith in these people, and I've lost a lot of faith. It's been so hard. I've lost faith in the charities. I've lost faith in the British authorities. I've lost faith even in the British public. Friends around me, you know, like William Cooper said, I was listening to one of his videos yesterday, and he said, you know, when you start to talk about the truth and start really challenging what's going on in this world, you'll suddenly, everybody will vanish from your life, you know, or you'll be being persecuted. And that is exactly what has happened to me. And nobody wants to talk about the solutions of child protection directives. And Ken O'Keefe, I fully support him. Right from the start, I recognise him as a kindred spirit, a soulmate, in the sense of a human brother, okay, who, yes, he talks about the problems, he exposes the crimes, but at the same time, he presents a solution, okay. He's got together, he's put his head down, and he's thought, yeah, we need a solution for this, and to give people a legal status in this world that gives us power, personal power over the corporations, okay, that no, you are not going to enslave me, okay. Now, how he's going to do that, what kind of legal approach he's going to use, he's not said yet, because as he says, that is like giving your battle plan to the enemy, and we've got to remember that the enemy is a very powerful organisation. It's a global criminal cabal, as Gordon Duff rightly explained. So, you know, we're not dealing with just, it isn't like he's dealing with a different politician as an opponent. He's dealing with a whole establishment that's, you know, running the whole world. And so I was very, very disturbed to find that just after a year, just over a couple of years of him starting it, I think it's about a year and a half, that suddenly the whole thing has been entirely discredited. He's been outed as a fraud, you know, thieving off people and blackmail, you know, and it's all based on hearsay and supposition. And actually, it is a pack of lies. And so I'm thinking, well, is this just an attack to bring him down, you know, because obviously somebody like him, real people in the truth movement, if they make any voice, get any publicity and fame for themselves and become, you know, a trusted truther, you know, Ken was untouchable in that sense. People had absolutely, his followers fully supported him and had absolute faith in him that is honest and genuine. And straight away, obviously, he's going to get surrounded by the sycophants and the, what I call, professional covert narcissists, which is a personality type that is an affliction that is the result of this world. But nonetheless, there are people who are paid to be professional covert narcissists, in the sense that they put themselves forward as one thing, but actually they're there to undermine you. You know, they'll come across as your best friend, your biggest supporter, and then all of a sudden you'll find, wham, they've turned round and you've been stabbed in the back and you're totally discredited and you're on the ground. Now, I've been attacked in this way, stalked and attacked by somebody who claimed to be a friend, and it turned out, no, they were just really wanting to bring me down when they couldn't bring me down. You know, they tried other means which failed. It was them that ended up getting into trouble, you know, but they had tried to drag me into that, and I realised afterwards, oh my gosh, I think I was stalked and targeted, and I'm just a little nobody. I'm a nobody compared to Ken O'Keefe, okay? So I do understand the kind of thing that goes on. I'm thoroughly woken up to the antics of covert narcissists and the shills, who I call now professional covert narcissists. So CPNs, that's what they are. Sorry, PCNs, professional covert narcissists / shill. Now, to what extent Richie Allen is a witting or unwitting shill or controlled opposition, or whether he just totally believes what's being said about Ken O'Keefe. It's obvious that Ken O'Keefe agreed to go on the Richie Allen radio show, which is actually supported by David Icke. He'd been on his show before. Richie Allen had given him a very warm welcome and promoted his One World Citizen, you know. And so when Ken O'Keefe went on Richie Allen's show to discuss these accusations that have been thrown at him, I think he was expecting a non-biased Richie Allen who knew him and who would be prepared to give him an ear and listen to his side of the story. But it quickly becomes clear as the show goes on that no, Richie Allen's fully behind Ken's accusers, and he really gives Ken a roasting, much to the delight of his audience. And we know out there it is, you know, it is a roasting, and you get sadistic type people, you jealous ego vying that goes on between men who like to see any man of credit being crumbled, because then that makes them feel better about themselves, because that's what goes on in the male worlds of vying for power, okay, whether it's political power, social power, power in the truth movement, power as the best singer, whatever it is. There's a competition gets going on, and you get groups of men who will stand up and persecute any men that they feel threatened by, collectively. And, you know, and that is why it's important to have females to balance things out, because females will not allow this kind of ego vying to get in the way of the really important issues and what's really going on and what we need to do. You see, women, they can't do this ego trip on women, but they've cut women out of the picture, and unfortunately this is the world that we're living in. And Ken has come under attack, and yeah, lots of members of the public have now got on board, you know, saying, yeah, he siphoned off money that supporters sent him, and, you know, he's been doing this, and blah, 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 you know, on it goes. So the people who have been throwing these accusations at Ken are one, Max Igan and Zen Gardner, okay? And they're claiming that, you know, he's robbed the public. And in this note, these are all the accusations. I'll just scroll down here. There you go. These are the accusations. He's stolen donated funds. He's bought lands with donated funds. He's not paid people wages. He has no legal strategy, or he's got one that legal experts actually reject. That he's committed blackmail, and that he's committing fraud, you know. And they were saying that he's, you know, moved to where was it, Dominica or somewhere, saying that, you know, he's gone there because he can't be extradited because there's no extradition treaty there with the USA. But actually there is an extradition treaty, so, you know, that was a load of BS as well. Now, and blackmail, I mean, basically a comment in an angry exchange between Max Igan and Ken O'Keefe, you know, after Ken O'Keefe was very upset in that exchange. He was being accused and threatened, and in response to that, Ken O'Keefe says, goodbye, what I said in the report will be made public the moment I get one whiff of your bullshit from you or your friends, end. Okay? Now, in the context of a heated Skype chat with a friend that's turned traitor, that is not blackmail. Okay? Blackmail is a very, usually a formal thing, or covertly presented, and it really, you know, we are perfectly within our rights to threaten to punch someone who has just threatened to punch us for no justifiable reason. It's not always the best solution, but still, it is an understandable and natural response within the context of a heated Skype conversation between people who previously trusted and supported one another. And had Ken truly been guilty of using blackmail to silence an opponent, accusing him of fraud and theft, it's very unlikely he'd decide to just drop it in during a heated Skype debate. You know, blackmailers have specific objectives. They rarely threaten anyone who may turn the tables on them, and then will only do so when they're aware no amount of disclosures from the target will be taken seriously, being as they'll be commonly perceived as nothing more than an attempt to distract from, you know, the blackmailer's own accusations. Now, why has this all come about? Why has this all started to happen? This is what I found interesting. Well, first of all, Max Igan, if I can find it, there it is. Max Igan had, you know, I would say now, has probably infiltrated Ken's circles, used his status as a, you know, prominent truther to get into Ken O'Keefe's circles. Ken O'Keefe held him in respect because he's got a big following and everybody holds him in respect. He's a truther, he's a caring, compassionate man apparently, you know, and so obviously Ken's happy to have his support, and with him also David Icke, you know what I mean, and they're all surrounding Ken. Ken's an innocent, I believe, genuinely trying to do his best, genuinely feeling very pleased he's got these strong people within the truth movement who are there to support him and to support what he's trying to do. And then all of a sudden, they've all turned on him and they've totally trashed him and everything that he's done and is trying to do. Okay, so, you know, if their campaign is successful, that's the end of his One World Citizen campaign, which is one of the only things that is, you know, properly legally being established, trying to be established. Because one thing I've noticed with all these truthers, and it is a thing that annoys me about David Icke, is that they will lead their audiences staring down into the abyss with no real guidance or any suggestions about what we can do, apart from following mainstream objectives. You know, there was David Icke supporting Brexit. Why was he supporting Brexit? He knows damn well that it wouldn't make no difference to Britain whether we leave or stay. It's the same bankers. But what we have left now are our rights that were guaranteed under the EU. At least they guaranteed our human rights. And we've now left the EU to be under rule of a government that is going to scrap our human rights. And people have barely even started to stand up for them yet. So, you know, I am suspicious of David Icke. And also, I have written to him so many times about, you know, my spiritual experience of seeing a light being, you know, and receiving the message of universal love, abundance and compassion. Apparently, if it happens to an ordinary person, it's just a pack of lies and I'm mad and I can just be ignored. Repeatedly, over 25 years, ignored. Okay? Because, you know, I'm just a mad person. But if he has an experience, drug-induced Kundalini experience in Peru, oh, the whole world needs to know about it, and he's parading about on Wembley Stadium, but he can't even lend an ear to people that have had experiences without taking any drugs, okay, who weren't even looking for any spiritual experiences, okay? but who were nonetheless aware of the truth and trying to work out what is going on in the world. And I've had the same experience from this guy here, you know, Ole Damagard. I listened to him, I thought, wow, yeah, he's a really fantastic guy, spiritual. I got in touch with him and asked if he'd give me an interview to share with the public about my experience, my spiritual experience. And because, you know, on the one hand, I'm trying to promote that. On the other hand, I'm trying to promote child protection directives and, you know, and keeping it real. You know, taking things out of the context of religion and looking at things realistically, you know, and what I have to say and share, you've seen in my videos, it isn't unreasonable, you know. So anyway, I contacted him and he said no, he hasn't got time at the moment because he's interviewing this woman who spent 30 years researching the subject. I said, well, I said, this experience happened to me 25 years ago. I've spent 25 years confirming my experience, confirming what I understood at that time. What people were telling me I was mad has now all proven to be absolutely true, with knobs on, even worse than what I was saying, and people were saying that I was mad at the time, 25 years ago. So, you know, unlike David Icke's been swanning about, you know, getting full publicity and media attention and all this lot, which I do not want, you know, but I would like the message, the experience to be shared to give other people hope and to strengthen them, not because I want to make a fortune out of selling pissing books and videos, okay, and to become some sort of guru of the truth movement. No, people just need to understand the facts and learn to live with them. We don't need any of this hero worship crap, but we do need to give credibility where it's due. Now, he refused to give me any interview, and it was basically just a brush off, even though I wrote to him in detail about my experience, and he said, oh, thank you, that sounds like a lovely experience, thank you for sharing it with me. You know, what I would say experience of the century, and you can listen to it, go and listen to my supernatural disclosure. It was an event, and they're telling me, oh, that was nice, you're not interested in it, doesn't think it's any significance. Why? Because I'm not Zen Gardner, am I? I've not got a massive online following. I'm just a nobody, a CSA survivor. Push me aside, okay? So I don't trust him. And so anyway, to get back to the whole issue, okay, what do I find at the heart of it all? Child abuse. Child abuse. Because Zen Gardner, formerly Don Ferguson, okay, acted as Director of Public Relations for a religious cult known as the Children of God. Now, this is a religious cult that abuses children. It abused children. During the time that Zen Gardner was working for that organisation as Director of Public Relations, during that period, it was the height of the abuse. He left in 1999 and changed his name to Zen Gardner and suddenly became this leading light in the truth movement, you know, with a massive online following and blah, blah, blah. Doing his own radio show, you know. And he was in a prime position, having been the Director of Public Relations for this cult, Children of God, probably, you know, had loads of contacts with loads of paedophiles that were supporting this thing, okay, that openly promoted, you know, sex with children. The children have all come out, the adults. You know, the guy in charge of it, who was running it, was a child abuser who was abusing children as young as the age of 5 and probably younger, okay? And so he was in a prime position with all his contacts that he'd made, because they kept, and plus they'd moved around. You know, he had contacts all over the world. Suddenly, yeah, he leaves there, changes his name to Zen Gardner, and then suddenly he's got this massive following and is the leading light of the truth movement, and is made friends with Max Igan. Okay. Now the thing is that Max Igan, it even says in this article, we don't even know his real name. His second name is Maxwell, we're told. But we don't know his first name. We don't know his surname. Okay? So we're dealing with a guy who is operating under an alias. So we can't research him, really, can we? So we don't know his real name. And another guy who was operating under an alias, which it came out, you see, that his real name was Don Ferguson, and he had been working as Director of Public Relations. Now, in part 2 of his evidence, World Citizen Solutions Financial Subversion Report, in which Ken has, I think, excellently addressed all the accusations that were labelled against him, you know, and has presented a very strong case in his favour. And as he says, as head of PR, Zen worked directly for David Berg, the disgraced leader of the cult and serial paedophile, during a period of rampant sexual abuse of children at least as young as 5 years old. There can be no serious doubt that Zen's time and position within the cult makes it a virtual impossibility that he did not know child abuse within the cult, right? Indeed, his position as head of public relations would have required him to know all about relevant and sensitive internal matters, and ultimately to cover up child abuse above all else. After all, as head of PR, one of his primary duties would be to whitewash problematic internal realities in the eyes of the public, and presumably he was in the PR position because he was capable of doing the job. Ultimately, Don Ferguson left the cult in 1999 and rebranded himself as Zen Gardner, keeping silent about his life and position in the cult for 17 years. On August 27th, Max Igan effectively came out in support of Zen Gardner based on the principle of, get ready, the presumption of innocence until proven guilty. Now, it seems that, you know, Ole Gardner has done the same, and here he has
close friends. He is one of them. He is my brother. He's the most compassionate, funny, brave. I cannot say enough about this wonderful, wonderful, wonderful person.
Oh, I just can't even listen to it. It just so enrages me to hear such praise heaped, okay, on somebody who worked as head of public relations of a cult of child abusers. Sorry, you know, thank you, Ole Dongard is full of shit. You need to wake up, Ole Dongard. Either you are a shill or you're being played. Okay? So either wake up and bloody well admit that, yeah, maybe. Because these people do come across as butter would not melt in their mouth. Believe you me, I know them. My own stepfather. I've exposed him on my YouTube videos. People think he is the most wonderful man you could ever meet. And he's not. He's a horror. He's a psychopath. I know he's a psychopath. But he will come across that butter would not melt in his mouth. The most wonderful, kind, funny, you name it. You could have been played Ole Dongard. Okay? And also, I'd like to say, when it comes to bravery, you know, nobody has stood up to this establishment more than Ken and put his life on the line. And, you know, I don't care what anybody says, that man has paid a price to be where he is today. And he isn't one who just writes books and goes parading around the world, giving interviews here and there, and, you know, everybody bowing down in worship before him. And people have got to wake up to the understanding of what controlled opposition is. Okay? We are fighting a war here. There is a war on for your mind. There's a war on for everything you've got, your rights and your home and your jobs and your money, everything, your children. But and the only way they're going to get those things is by controlling your mind. So do not underestimate the power of the shill. Okay? The professional covert narcissists, they are out there in their hordes, and they do get full publicity, and they do all support each other. And so we've got a band of people now all coming out, supporting each other and turning against Ken O'Keefe and everything that he has tried to do. You know, and then you've got Richie Allen. Like I say, never bothered to reply. Didn't want to do a show about promoting child protection directives. What, wouldn't that pull in enough audience, Richie Allen? And according to the child protection directives, Ken O'Keefe is perfectly and lawfully supported in querying Zen's possible and probable knowledge about crimes against children. And he is equally supported in his subsequent concerns about those who insist on denying his suspicions as valid. Okay? Because the kind of evidence related to Zen amounts to lawful suspicion. And the CPDs demand he is fully investigated. And that's a fact. Just because the world chooses to ignore the UN and EU child protection directives does not mean they do not exist and that they are not valid and they're not important. And, you know, I understand, I've researched it, I've been through it, I've lived it. I've lived it. I knew when I was 13 what now I've had to reconfirm to be able to say to people, look, for a fact that they cover this shit up. You know? Because they covered it up when I was 13. Instead tried to make me rebuild a relationship with a man who'd done nothing but abuse me for my entire life. And I've got social workers and telling me I've got to rebuild a relationship with him. And I'm there at age 13 having to explain to these professionals, no, I've never had a relationship with him. I was his toy. And they still tried to persuade me. You know, this is what I was dealing with when I was 13. So I fucking knew then what kind of society I'm living in and what to reach my age, 55 this year, and to find what's going on. Still, children can't get justice, you know, and hats off to Ken. Because as I said here, Ken has shown himself astute and alert to those among his circles who may pose a real and covert threat, either as child abusers or complicit with child abusers. Now, it seems Ken came out, was questioning Max Igan about his friend, you know, their mutual friend, Zen Gardner, and he's questioning him. And he uses the straw man as a defence, you know, saying, oh, show me the witnesses against him then. But that's not the point. Ken isn't saying the guy is a paedophile. What he's saying is, how much did he know? And again, according to the CPD's child protection directives, if you know about child abuse and you don't do anything about it, you are guilty. You are complicit because you're protecting a paedophile, you're protecting a child abuser, you're leaving children at risk. And in this case, the guy was actually earning money and had social status and influence through a cult that was operating as a cover, a religious cult operating as a cover for paedophilia. Okay, he was earning a living from that, and then what? He just walks away from it, changes his name, and becomes the truth, the God of truth, and he's left all them children at risk for 17 years. He said nothing. We had to wait for some of the kids to grow up, to get old enough. Goodness knows how many will be coming up and down the line that were abused in the 17 years that, you know, Zen Gardner kept his mouth shut. And it is so disgusting. I'm so upset to realise this, to witness this orchestrated attack, and to see how fucking successful it's been as well, and how quick people have been to stand against him, you know, and half the people of the world don't even know what he's about yet. Because I've realised that this online truther so-called business, which is what it is now, everything's a pissing business in this world, is fully controlled, you know, by shills of every kind. And, well, I've noticed I've had 50 people, me, who's got no following at all. I'm totally marginalised. People say to me, how come I never see you post on Facebook? Well, I regularly put them up. I share through Twitter. Nobody sees them. I'm completely marginalised. Okay? And a lot of people don't even know about Ken O'Keefe yet. In fact, a lot of people, what they will be knowing about Ken O'Keefe, more than what he's done and who he is, okay? And the truth that he's shared with people, and how he's put his life on the line for humanity, you know, that, oh, yeah, he was some, like, shill in the truth movement, trying to use the truth movement to get loads of money. I mean, Richie Allen goes on about £150,000. Well, considering that the thing had only been set up just over a year, okay, and he's got to have a legal team, a staff, and they've got to work, £150,000 wouldn't even pay a staff's yearly wage. And what they're trying to say, the first 150 grand that's come in, Ken's immediately pocketed it all. You know, it's just absolute rubbish. The guy needs millions. Millions he needs. You know? Where was all the money going that was being put into that cult of God? How did the cult of God, the children of God, pay Zen Gardner's wages? For all we know, they could have been selling and distributing child pornography. Where did all that money go? Whose pockets did it go in? Oh, no, no, no. We're not going to talk about that, are we? You know. And as I say here, why hasn't Richie Allen joined Ken O'Keefe in sharing his concerns about Zen Gardner and Max Ingham's swift defence against the inevitable lawful suspicions that naturally arise around someone who had close associations with a child-abusing religious cult? Of course people are going to be asking questions. Why aren't you asking questions, Richie Allen? You interviewed the children, the survivors. You've spoke to the victim mothers who've been persecuted because they've started asking questions about the safety of their children and the justice the children have been given by this country. And you just immediately side with a guy who, with that level of suspicion against him and that level of involvement, and then, oh, the guy that supports him, there's something wrong. And as Ken says, is Max so mind-numbingly stupid, incapable of acknowledging the insane hypocrisy and duplicity of protecting Zen Gardner, a man preaching love and light while committing the moral crime of remaining silent for 17 years and ultimately condemning more children to sexual abuse? And is the timing of Max's support for Zen just a coincidence, occurring just one day before unleashing an unholy slander campaign against me? Is the timing a deflection of the righteous condemnation of Max's support of Zen to me? I believe people who support the World Citizen Mission or me personally should look into this matter. And definitely, why shouldn't we look into it? Oh, but no, instead, we are persuaded, the global public are persuaded by an organised online attack to believe that our genuine champion for human rights and justice, Ken O'Keefe, is a blackmailer and a fraud. One World Citizen is just a scam, and anyone donating to that cause is a fool. Suspicions related to Zen Gardner are unlawful and irreverent. We can put our full trust in Max Igan's opinion that his friend is completely innocent and knew nothing at all about his previous employer's crimes against children. You know, and Richie really does goad and provoke Ken, you know, with his relentless, malicious accusations and with his condescending, patronising and downright offensive attitude, you know. And it is. And as I say here, considering what we now know in relation to the nature of organised crimes against children? Can we lawfully ignore all the evidence presented here? Evidence which supports lawful suspicions about yet another cover-up, where focus of accusations have subverted against those expressing concerns for child safety, and meanwhile the lawful suspects bask in public respect on strength of presumed innocence. Well, you know, presumed innocence is no longer good enough when it comes to protecting children. Jimmy Savile got presumed innocence for how long? So I am very, very deeply, deeply disturbed. And that is why I wrote this note. I will leave you the link to it. You can read through it. But, you know, as I explained here, we need to get wise to and wake up to the myriad ways of a controlled opposition, how they surround persons of interest who achieve public credibility purely in order to covertly control, undermine and or discredit them. They appear as humble supporters and they leave full of vile threats and vile accusations. We are being played every which way but loosened from the grip of psychological slavery. There are no solutions, claim the slave drivers. Come listen to the horrible truth of an historically established criminal global cabal, and we'll leave you staring into the abyss until you get bored or scared enough to run away for sake of holding on to sanity. But there are many positive and viable solutions. One that Ken was promoting, Ubuntu. I mean, some people have said Michael Tellinger's a shill. I don't think he is. I think Ubuntu is a good universal law of abundance and compassion. That it fully supports Ubuntu. Okay? Strange how few among the alternative media care to air or promote such solutions, isn't it? Strange how child protection directives are never mentioned by the most prominent truthers, airing regular stories about organised CSA, isn't it? Except no, it's not strange at all. It is simply yet more evidence of how we are manipulated into believing an issue is being addressed while in fact the status quo in favour of protecting criminals remains intact. Okay? CSA, child sexual abuse, attracts listeners who are needed only to listen, donate or subscribe. The highest of the subscriptions, so all the more is earned via revenue from advertising. It's fine for the likes of Richie Allen to draw in a large audience and reap the financial rewards and social respect as truther on such terrible topics as torture and sexual abuse of children. Have a go at Ken O'Keefe. Accuse him of robbing the public because he dared to raise concerns about a possible child sexual abuser complicit posing as a light of truth. Okay? And he did. Ken O'Keefe tried to do something huge. He invited us all to participate in that effort towards delivering justice to the oppressed and ignored. Yes, he needs funds. A legal case and a legal team cannot survive on fresh air. As I say, the paltry sum of 150 grand mentioned by Richie Allen would barely pay a staff's yearly wage. And, you know, we do need money. That's the irony of the world we're living in. As I said, and I'm not criticising genuine awakened people who need donations and are selling a book instead, but we do need to get wise to who's who. Be sure about who you choose to support. Who is genuine, who is controlled, who is using truth about one thing to promote lies about another. That's something they do. Watch out for these people, you know. And you see it a lot now with this flat earther campaigners, you know. People who are supporting the flat earth. I thought I had a thing here. But, you know, there's people that are supporting this thing called the flat earth movement, which is a total psyop, you know. It is a total psyop, the flat earth thing. But there are people that genuinely believe it, who have genuinely been taken in. Really good, decent people who genuinely been taken in by it, okay? But at the end of the day, it is a psyop organisation. They've got thousands of people online who are just promoting all the time. So now what's happened is that Max Igan's come out and, you know, like, spoken out against this flat earth stuff, and suddenly, you know, he's disparaging people's work on the flat earth, and again they're using the psyop to support the other side of the psyop, because now everybody who's got any common sense, who knows that the earth is round, you know, spherical, whatever they want to call it, oblate, spheroid, will immediately say, yeah, this guy's right, you know, good on him, he's come out and totally discredited the flat earth people. And the flat earth people are saying, he's a shill, he's a shill, he's a shill. And anybody they know with any sense, the majority don't support the flat earth truth, so-called. Okay? So automatically, no, he isn't a shill. They're playing us. They're playing us like fucking billiard balls. And it's time to wake up. The shills are promoting and supporting the shills, and it's just a load of BS. Okay? Because I do believe that he is a shill. Why is he so quick to defend Zen Gardner? Okay? Why does a man like Zen Gardner move from public relations of the children of God, a child abuser cult, to then becoming a leading light of truth in the truther movement? How does that happen? Where did he get his support from? Where did he come from? What is his real name? You know, responsible for Crow House and Surviving the Matrix radio show. You know, who long supported my work, blah, blah, blah. It's like, you know, what is going on? And yeah, it's so easy to denounce the flat earthers. I've looked at the science, you know, I'm in absolutely no way convinced by it, but I do understand how some people could be, but at the same time, I've got one response. Flat, round, square, whatever physical shape this earth is in, it is in fucking bad shape. Okay, it supports life and we need to look after it. So I don't care about its actual physical shape, I'm bothered about its shape as far as supporting life. And at the moment our planet is at risk. Okay, and we are facing a deadly enemy, and there is a war on for humanity. And believe you me, they have got an army out there. There is an army. You know, I've had up to 50 people, and I'm just a nobody. Okay, I'm a nobody. I've had up to 50 people trolling my every comment on every YouTube channel I've commented on, telling them that I'm a paedophile, and I've had 3 children removed from my care. All of it an absolute pack of lies. But they only have to put it out there, and people start to believe it. They back away, you know. And this is what's being done, and it is a battle. And so, you know, I am standing with Ken O'Keefe, absolutely 100%. And, you know, in the words of Ken O'Keefe, because so many of you are being manipulated with the effectiveness of the brainwashing we see in the Christian Zionist movement, these people have their anointed leaders who speak with the authority of God. And for the Max Igan sycophants, God himself has spoken. And Ken O'Keefe is guilty and needs to crawl under a rock. It is stunning. Shame, shame, shame to those who bought into this lynch mob insanity just because their chosen one says so. You know, and I'm saying be brave, be courageous, dare to care, and speak out against tyranny in all its forms. Be prepared to lose a few friends along the way if you are truly honest in your commitment to building a fairer and more lawful way of living on this good planet Earth. Please share widely and voice your support and concerns on behalf of Ken O'Keefe and all who continue to support his mission. And that is what I'm saying to people now. Do voice your support. You know, write it on your Facebook wall, on your Twitter. Talk to people about it. Talk about the One World Citizen mission. Think about the fact that our world is being controlled by a really sadistic criminal elite, and they do rely on paedophiles, okay, because they can be guaranteed to do anything they say, anything that's asked of them. And they are using the straw man technique. You know, they won't focus on what you're saying. They'll distract from the argument and focus on another argument. And they will smear people who find popularity. And it's very likely that those people were in place ready to trip Ken up at any moment, to do a dirty on him and to say all the things they've said. It's just that they had to bring it all forward a bit, okay, before he'd actually made millions, which they would have had their fair share of as well, believe you me. But he'd only got to his first few hundred grand when already he'd picked up and was asking questions about Zen Gardner, and so they had to speed it all up a bit, didn't they? Okay? And then that was it. So they had to come out clean there and then and say no, because they're all one. And I do not trust these people. I do not trust you, Zen Gardner, because you have not spoken, and you were public relations manager, and everything that Ken has said about you in terms of his suspicion is absolutely spot on. Because how could you work for an organisation like that and not know, and also leave it and not get any help? Okay, I do not trust these people. And again, you know, the same with you, Richie Allen. You know, maybe you need to look at people like David Icke, who are claiming, oh, I'm the spiritual leader, I've had a spiritual experience, I am Jesus. Well, I've had a spiritual experience, and I will say to you and David Icke and Max Igan and Zen Gardner and Ole Damgard, I have met the person, I have met the light being, and it has communed with me. So, okay, so I will speak with the authority of universal intelligence, the golden light of universal intelligence, and I can speak with that knowledge because I know, having met that person, that what you have all done, I'm not happy. Universal intelligence is not happy with this situation, is not happy witnessing a good person, a genuine person who I've had no reason to suspect of anything, okay, being turned into a scapegoat and slandered, and having a valid solution that he was trying to work on being undermined by people who are standing round to protect a guy who is lawfully suspected of being complicit in covering up or even perhaps participating in abuse of children. Okay, and by people like Max Igan, who we don't even know his real name. And, you know, and where do these people come from? With all their big following. You know, not one person has wanted to listen to me, but these people, they seem to think they can take a few drugs, have a bit of a spiritual experience. Oh, next minute, you know, they're out, they're the second coming. And I have never ever promoted myself as anything. I've never put myself above anybody. I have spent 25 years fighting for human rights, animal rights, children's rights, looking after the people around me, giving everything I've got. I've been shat on, spat on, punched, abused, robbed, you name it. And right at this very moment, I am homeless directly because of my involvement with child abuse and the things that I do online, because people get scared and they don't want to be associated with me because they think that I'm going to bring trouble to their door. And the first whiff of independent inquiry, child abuse police coming to my door, that's it. Landlord's telling me he fabricated a reason to have a go at me, complete fabrication. Next minute I'm having to leave, you know. And these are the kind of things that happen to us people on the ground, little people. So, you know, what's happening to Ken is very, very serious. And I am very, very alarmed to see that his World Citizen Project now could be undermined because of this. So I'm asking people to, you know, ask for Ken O'Keefe, say, look, we support Ken O'Keefe. That's what we need to see, because what you'll see on here is just boom, 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 boom. Okay, you're just going to see how he's a fraudster, and that is being passed around all the circuits and all the onliners, because most of the public aren't online, or if they are, they're playing games or watching stuff. There is a very, very heavy concentration of the controlled opposition at work, whether they're being paid or whether they do it just because they are a criminal themselves and they don't ever really want this criminal world to end, and they hate people like Ken O'Keefe, the real people, and they'll always be the one that gets targeted. Okay, you know, and you know, why don't you tattoo a tear onto your face, Richie Allen? Okay, I know I've got a friend who tattooed a tear on her face. I know the kind of abuse that people have suffered and the hurt and pain that do that. So, you know, as far as I'm concerned, you guys, you really need to wake up and to get real. And I do implore people to not fall for this orchestrated, covert narcissist attack, professional covert narcissist, shill attack against Ken O'Keefe. He is a good man, and I have absolute full faith in him that he was not ripping anybody off and that he wasn't robbing people. And top respect to him. Top respect to you, Ken O'Keefe. You spoke out, you stood up for children's rights, and my full respect and my heart goes out to you. So, you know, thank you everybody for listening. And as I say, I'll leave the link and a few of these links for you to look at, but I'll leave my Facebook link for you to have a look to read the full article, and, you know, make your own mind up. But seriously, this is a serious attack now, and it's against one person, one man who has stood up, and it is time for us to sort the wheat out from the chaff. Okay, so thank you.